Welcome to From the Shack. This is our new barbecue show, and on a monthly basis across the winter we'll be making a programme for you. Now Elky, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Yeah, been really busy. Had a bit of an upgrade to the shack roof. Had a bit of a leak in there, so we've got a new roof and I've now got it ready for the winter.
Now Elky, this isn't just an ordinary shack, this is a barbecuer's theme park. The kit you've got in here is absolutely insane.
And now you can see why I call it my happy place. Now, I don't know about you, but I have missed doing the lockdown barbecue show, the weekly show, so it's good to be back here with the cameras. But we've also created a new YouTube channel called Barbecue Shack TV, where we'll be adding great content over the winter. So please go and check out Barbecue Shack TV, and while you're there, hit subscribe.
And now it's time to take a look at what's coming up in today's show. Coming up, Elky takes a well-earned break and goes on holiday to one of his favourite destinations. Our special guest is barbecue legend and live fire cooking author Steven Raichlen. Neal visits an entrepreneur who's turned his passion into a thriving business. James Golding, group chef director at the Peak Hotels, creates an amazing partridge dish over fire. We have a new competition and you can win a brilliant Thermapen Pro. And as a special tribute to Steven Raichlen being on the show, Elky recreates Steven's favourite meal. There's certainly a lot coming up in today's show. Now Elky, there's a rumour going around that you've been on a family staycation with one of your favourite bits of barbecue kit.
Maybe, yes, but it's good to get away in these strange times. Should we take a look at the video? Good old Thailand. It's blue skies, it's sandy beaches, limestone cliffs. I'm here celebrating my 40th birthday with my family, except I'm not. That's a chalk cliff. I'm in sunny Margate in the UK. I'm not in Thailand, and I think we all know why in 2020 that's not possible. I absolutely love Thailand, and one of the main reasons for me is the food. It's so special, it's spicy, it's fresh. The intoxicating smell of food being cooked over charcoal in the streets, oh, it's just unbeatable. If I can't go to Thailand, then I'm going to bring Thailand to me. I'm having a staycation here in the UK where I'm going to bring the Thai cooking experience here to the beach. Let's do it. Today I'm doing Gai Yang, which is Thai grilled chicken. The Kamado Joe Junior is perfect for this type of cook because it almost acts like a smoky oven, giving you that lovely char grilled flavour whilst ensuring a nice even cook throughout. You certainly can't do that on a disposable barbecue. While the Kamado Joe Junior is coming up to temperature, we're going to prepare the marinade. Now I'm using these classic Thai ingredients of lemongrass, garlic and chilli, and to that we're going to add some coriander roots. I've got some of this palm sugar, soy sauce, fish sauce, ketchup mayonnaise and some peppercorns. It's going to give us that perfect balance of salty, spicy and sweet. Chop your fresh ingredients ready for the pestle and mortar. Obviously, the smaller you chop your ingredients, the easier you're going to make life for yourself. Or you could make life for yourself even easier by just bringing one from home. This is exactly what I've done here. Spatchcocking a chicken is really easy. Essentially, we're just going to remove the backbone from the chicken. So take yourself some nice sharp poultry scissors and just cut all the way down that backbone. And we're going to cut down either side. So just all the way through and then again on the other side. Just making sure you get a nice clean break all the way through, like so. And then all we do is take that last little end bit off. And then it's just a case of turning the bird over and just pushing it flat. So get it as flat as you can and then just push down with your hands until you hear a crack, and there you go. That is your spatchcock chicken. First of all, we're going to make some incisions into the chicken. This helps the marinade to penetrate deeper, but also helps it cook quicker, and you get that lovely flavour and lovely charred crispy bits because you've scored the skin. Now we're going to take our chicken and just pop it into a casserole dish, and this is where we add our marinade. Now remember, you want to reserve half of this marinade for basting, so we're just going to pour some of that into a bowl. And then the other half, we're just going to smother all over this chicken, on the underside and on the skin and all that flesh. So just flip that over and just rub that in all over the chicken. And that is pretty much it. That is our chicken ready for the grill. Kamado Joe Junior is up to temperature, so now we're going to get the chicken in. And all we're going to do is we're going to place it bone side down, because the bone is going to act as a heat deflector, ensuring that the meat is protected from the direct heat. You can hear the sizzle, the smell is incredible. So all that's left now is to close the lid, grab a beer and chill. The chicken's done, so now's the time to take it off and let it rest. Oh, look at that. Now in Thailand they would just bring out the cleaver, smash this to bits and stick it in the bag with a dipping sauce, and away you go. I'm going to be a bit more gentle. I'm going to slice this nice and easily, and then we're going to garnish it with some chilies, coriander and a sweet chilli sauce. But just look at that chicken and how juicy that is, and the smells coming off of this are incredible. Oh man, this tastes so good. Thailand might be 6,000 miles away, but it certainly doesn't feel like it right now. And you know what? The UK is a great place for a staycation, and the Kamado Joe just makes it a joy cooking on the beach.
Now Elky, that chicken looks absolutely superb, but I've got to ask the question, where is everybody? The beach is empty. Did you hire it for yourself?
You know, mate, you were there with me. Now, me and Neal, we did this on the hottest day in September. The beach was absolutely packed. We filmed it in the shade, and luckily nobody wanted to sit in the shade. But I really enjoyed making this video. We made it on behalf of Kamado Joe, and a big thanks to Kamado Joe for allowing us to use it in the show. Now, Neal, you've been out and about as well. Should we take a look at what you've been up to?
I'm off to Faversham in Kent to meet an entrepreneur who was so inspired when he visited the food and spice markets around the world that he built a business based around his culinary passion.
I worked as a chef for a while down in Somerset. Spices and herbs we were buying in were just flavoured stuff basically. They, you know, from big suppliers. They've been sat on a shelf forever. Through my world travels, I knew that you could get so much fresher, nicer stuff to work with.
You've got a great selection of blends and rubs here. What can customers buy?
Everything from your barbecue rubs, various salts. We make curry powders, Middle Eastern blends, something to jazz up a bolognese or fish or seafood. Bit of everything from every corner of the world basically.
How do you come up with the ideas for your blends?
There's obviously books, there's recipes out there. I go on a lot of forums, you know, say barbecue forums, that kind of thing. Sometimes customers will bring in, they've been travelling and they said, oh, we bought this in a certain country, we can't remember what it was called, what's in it, and they leave it, and after a lot of kind of experimenting I can generally work out what's in there.
When you come up with an idea for a new barbecue rub, what's the process involved to make it?
So you've got your idea of what, you know, what you're trying to achieve and where you want to get to, and you start off with your base components, or your notes if you like, and then it's just a case of experimenting and using your nose and your taste and smell and just chopping and changing to it directs. Obviously it goes wrong a lot of the times, you have to start again, and then eventually you just keep tweaking and tweaking, and then suddenly you go, that's it, that's where I was trying to get to. Ironically, I own a spice shop and I can't go too hot on a heat level, so some of my rubs I'll have to then dish it out to people that I know that will cook with it, and they can report back, because I wouldn't be able to eat it myself.
Dan, last weekend I cooked with the Kansas rib rub on a pork shoulder, which is absolutely delicious. Which of your rubs are specifically designed for barbecuing?
The ones with a high sugar content, things like Shake Your Booty butt rub, Boston butt rub, the Memphis and the Kansas. Obviously with the high sugar with a low and slow, you're going to get that nice sort of crispy bark on it, rather than if you're going to do it over hot flame, it's just going to burn too quick.
What do you particularly like cooking on the barbecue?
Yeah, I tend to go for cuts of meat, steaks, lamb, chicken, that kind of thing.
Without giving too many secrets away, what ideas have you got for blends and rubs in the future?
I've covered 3 of the classic barbecue styles in America. I've got my Memphis, I've got Kansas, and I've got the Boston. So I want to do, say, a Carolina style rub, which I've got ideas for. I've also got recipes in mind for Korean style rubs, I want to look at some of the coffee-based rubs, so the sort of cowboy style coffee-based meat rubs. That's next on the list. And then I've got other rubs that aren't barbecue style, but yeah, there's always something around the corner ready to do.
Now Dan, can I ask a big favour? Would you consider making a rub specifically for From the Shack?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I always love a challenge. Yeah.
It's great to see somebody turning their passion into a business, and I'm really looking forward to using the From the Shack rub probably on my next brisket. Now, especially in these times, it's really important that we support independent businesses.
It really is. And what we'd like you to do is to tell us what you're up to. If you're an independent business working within the barbecue sector, post a picture on Instagram and tag in Barbecue Shack TV, and we'd love to share what you're up to. Now, Elky, who's our special guest this month?
So this month we've got an extra special guest. He's got over 30 books, including the first book that I ever bought, the Barbecue Bible. He's also got over 20 TV shows. It's Steven Raichlen.
Hello Steven, it's a real honour to have you on the show. How are you doing in these strange times?
It's strange, but I have never been busier in my life. I have a new book that I wrote actually during the first couple months of lockdown, and are in production now, getting ready for a new TV show. I had a TV show I do in Montreal, which of course I couldn't travel to Montreal, but instead I taped my portion of the segments in my backyard, shot them up to Montreal, so that's happening. I'm starting a new business, mail order barbecue and smoked food business, so that's happening. So, man, I've been just crazy busy.
I'm a huge fan of yours. I've got many of your books. I think it's the Barbecue Bible that first kind of put me on my barbecue journey, and I've got it here, and you can see how much it gets used by, you know, some of the pages that are just kind of falling out of it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it's certainly had some use.
I love to see those. Love to see those battle-worn copies.
You've obviously got, I think it's 31 books. You've got numerous TV shows. You've got the Barbecue University. When did your love of barbecue and cooking over fire begin?
My professional interest actually dates from 1994. In particular, November 1994, when I had this, you might call it a satori or illumination or a flash of inspiration or the divine interference or whatever. But I had the idea that grilling is the world's most universal and ancient cooking method, but everywhere it's done differently. So wouldn't it be cool to travel around the world and write about it? And that thought led to the Barbecue Bible. And the Barbecue Bible led me to, one night I sat down, and night that may or may not have been substance enhanced, and I made a list of all the things I wanted to do in barbecue. And there was a website, a TV show, a line of products, a foreign program, Barbecue University, and I'm a great believer in lists. So I wrote all this stuff down on a list, and damn if it all hasn't all happened over the last 20 years.
Barbecue Bible certainly helped me in the early days. I still look at it now as a great reference point. How did you obviously came up with the idea for the Barbecue Bible, and traveling the world and going to all these barbecue places, but how did you put it into practice?
Well, it was the sort of thing where I proposed the book and got the contract, and it all happened so quickly that I didn't really have time to think about how I would do it. But I bought one of those rollerboard suitcases, and I started making travel plans and traveling the world.
Stephen, the very first barbecue book I bought was Planet Barbecue. Am I right in thinking that you did travel to 50 countries to write it?
Actually 53, but who's counting? That's up to about 70 now. No, I'm fascinated by the idea that, that's my favorite book, by the way, Planet Barbecue. I'm fascinated by the idea that here's a cooking method that we really, as a species, developed about 1.8 million years ago. It's really what set us on the road to becoming human. It's what makes us different than all the other animals out there. And yet, in this age of homogenation, where there's a McDonald's and a Starbucks on every street corner in virtually every country in the world, here is a method of cooking that remains unique and true to its place. And if you go to Indonesia, the grilling is going to be very different than in India, or going to be very different than in South Africa, or Brazil, or North America. So I take great comfort in that. And I think the other thing that's great about barbecue is it's so deep and so broad, right?
Steven, just going back to Planet Barbecue for a second, did you have a favourite country and a favourite dish?
I had probably 6 favorite countries and 6 favorite dishes. I mean, I loved them all, and every place I went. But I would have to say that Indonesia was just spectacular. India was spectacular in its own way. Turkey, you know, the birthplace of the shish kebab. Argentina and Brazil for although their repertoire is fairly slim and the breadth of what they do is fairly narrow. But the importance of barbecue in those cultures were amazing.
Just going to American barbecue, we've had Jess Pryor's on the show talking about Texan barbecue.
Yeah.
We've had Malcolm Reed talking about Memphis barbecue. What state or what would you say is your favourite kind of US barbecue style or barbecue sauce?
Well, if I answered that question, I would get whatever state I named, I'd get lynched by the other state. So I'm not a favorites kind of guy. I really celebrate diversity more than try and single out one thing. But, you know, of course, if you were thinking about maybe some of the major regions and styles of American barbecue, Texas, incredibly diverse, rather simple in the preparation, but absolutely heroic with its brisket. North Carolina, again, you know, sort of a one-trick pony, but oh, what a pony, you know, pulled pork in its various manifestations. Kansas City with its heavy reliance on smoke and smoky barbecue sauces. Memphis, birthplace of the dry rub rib. And then, you know, you get to some of the micro regions, the San Francisco Bay region with its barbecued salmon, barbecued oysters. Pacific Northwest with its salmon, Sheboygan, Wisconsin with its bratwurst. You know, it goes on and on and on.
You're making me hungry.
I know. It's late for you guys too, right?
Yeah, it's about 10:30, but I can eat.
Okay.
So just going back to the world barbecue and traveling around the world, you must have some interesting stories. Any kind of scary stories where you're kind of in a place and you know things aren't quite what you expected?
Oh yeah, quite a few actually. One that comes to mind when I was in Bali researching a dish called babi gulig, which is their spit roasted pig. The pitmaster, grill master, you know, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to market with him, and then we went out to pick the pig and pick out the pig, and he thought it would be a great honor for me to slaughter the pig myself. So he put the knife in my hand, and it's really quite amazing. He kind of laid his hands on the animal, and the animal just kind of quieted down, and then knife went in and out, and that was that. And then it turns out that a popular breakfast, if you're up that early killing a pig, is you take the hot pig's blood and mix it with freshly grated coconut, and you eat that. So that was my breakfast on that particularly memorable day in Bali, Indonesia. Not sure it's something I would have set out to do, but, you know, when you're in the process, you go for it.
I'm not so hungry anymore.
Steven, that sounds absolutely mad. What other main barbecue trends you've seen? What changes in barbecue trends have you seen over the last few years?
Oh boy, well, there's so many. I mean, and also on so many levels. First of all, the fact that a country like yours has a podcast like this. When I first wrote Barbecue Bible, England was conspicuously off the list because the English simply didn't grill or barbecue. But I was there a few years ago, and I just couldn't believe how many fantastic both barbecue restaurants and grill restaurants have sprouted up. So, you know, barbecue where you'd least expect it would be one trend. Globalization of American-style barbecue. I mean, there are barbecue competitions in Italy and Germany and Holland. I think two other big trends, sort of macro trends. I don't know if this has happened in the UK yet, but in the States, one is grilling used to be kind of an activity you did on the weekend or on a special occasion, and now the outdoor grill area has become an extension of the kitchen. And with that has come the phenomenon of multiple grill ownership. You know, one grill used to be enough, but now I think 33% of Americans at least own more than one grill, and 20-something% own more than 2 grills. So
how many do you have?
Oh gosh, spread between 2 homes and Barbecue University, probably more than 60.
What's your favorite one to cook on?
You know, I can't name a favorite, but I would say if I could only pick one grill to take to a desert island, I would probably take a Weber kettle grill. I think it's for its versatility and its simplicity.
Now, Steven, someone new to grilling, what advice would you give them for starting, and what sort of cooks would you recommend that they started with?
Well, first of all, I would recommend going out and buying a copy either of the Barbecue Bible or How to Grill. How to Grill is my book with, 1,000 step-by-step color photographs. Or I would suggest going to barbecuebible.com, my website, because it's, that whole purpose of that site is education. In terms of starting with something, I mean, learn how to grill a steak, a good steak. That's a really core, it's a core skill. And I would say of grilling steak that you can sort of master the basics in about 10 minutes and you can spend a lifetime kind of perfecting it. If you want to start with barbecue, that is smoking low and slow or even smoking hot and fast, I would recommend a pork shoulder, what we call bust and butt in the United States, because it's it's an intrinsically tender piece of meat that's very well marbled. So, if you get a heat spike, it's okay. If you overcook it, it's okay. It's pretty indestructible.
Steven, your Instagram account has over 60,000 followers, and today I noticed a video on there where you cook a steak on a shovel. What's the rationale behind that?
Yeah, so that actually came from Planet Barbecue, and it came from Australia, where out in the outback, they cook lamb chops on a shovel. And it's done over a campfire, so you don't even need a grill. And I kind of love the visual robustness, machismo, just gutsiness of it, that if you have a shovel or a piece of metal and a campfire, you're in business. You don't need a propane tank. You don't even need charcoal. But there's a physics behind it that works too, and that is that, so a shovel in a way is like a plancha, right? So you're searing, but because you're doing it over wood fire, the smoke is curling up over the edges of the shovel, and you're getting a kind of a smoke flavor. It's great for fish, where if often fish sticks to the grill grate. And so a shovel is a way to get a great sear on it without having to do that worry. But there's also the theatrics. And, I always say you should never underestimate the importance of looking cool when you grill. And there is nothing that makes you look cooler than grilling over a shovel.
I'm going to get my shovel out next week.
Yeah, but not preferably a shovel used to clean a cow pasture.
No. So, Steven, you've got a number of TV shows. Exactly how much kind of preparation and planning goes into them?
Well, quite a bit. I would say sort of the advanced prep for a TV show for me is probably a good 6-8 weeks. There's picking the menus, there's picking the recipes, and I don't always just take them straight from the book.
Steven, you've obviously traveled the world. You've been to some amazing places. I've got to say, I'm pretty envious.
And that's sort of my niche in barbecue. I mean, I'm never going to win a competition in Memphis in May, but, traveling the world barbecue, that's something I really feel like I have a handle on, and it's something I love. And in terms of the countries, I'm kind of a firm believer that you can find something to love just about any place in the world. And every place is interesting, even if it isn't necessarily easy. Places for me, I love Japan, of course. I was actually born in Japan. I left when I was very young, but every time I go back to Japan, it's a homecoming in a sense.
Now, Steven, we know you've been working on a new book, and it's due for release early next year. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, the new book is called How to Grill Vegetables. And I would say it's not a vegetarian book. It is a vegetable-forward book. I did about 10% of the recipes do have meat for my carnivorous friends out there, and they are legion. But I really wanted to focus on grilling vegetables. I mean, why? Because first of all, my wife and daughter are vegetarians, so sort of strikes home. Second of all, in America at least, we are eating, there's so much interest in vegetables, vegetable grilling, vegetable cookery. In fact, I just wrote a story for the New York Times on vegetable charcuterie. It's just cured like meat, but it's made out of vegetables. It's healthier for you. The tastes are vibrant and bold. And it just felt like, I've written a lot about meat and seafood. It felt like was something I wanted to tackle and really focus on.
We look forward to seeing that coming out. When is it, next year?
It'll be out in April 2021.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. Now, this is going to be probably the hardest question of all. If you had to pick one recipe from one of the books, what would it be? What's your favourite?
Well, I love all of my recipes, but I think if there were one recipe that sums up who Steven Raichlen is, it would be the caveman T-bone with hellfire hot sauce. You build a fire either with wood or charcoal, but you don't use a grill grate. You take the steak, you season it with salt and pepper, just lay it right on the embers, and it grills and chars right on the embers. Totally amazing process. The flavor utterly different than if it had cooked even 6 inches above that fire on a grill grate. So that's the steak. And then the hellfire hot sauce, you take a skillet, you put it on the embers, and in olive oil, you fry jalapeno chilies, fresh cilantro, and garlic in a lot of oil. And then you pour that screaming, sizzling, bubbling, smoking, fiery, incendiary mix of peppers and oil over the steak, and the hot oil hits the hot steak, and you've got the char of the charcoal, and it's, you know, the flavors are amazing. To watch it being made is just eyes pop and jaws drop. And then there's a little nod to Homo erectus there, you know, our caveman ancestors who invented barbecue.
Steven, your steak sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest on the show.
Thank you, guys. I love it. I love the UK. I love what you're doing. And, you know, God save the Queen.
Thank you, Steven. It's been an absolute privilege to have you on. Cheers.
But if you ever get to Miami, give me a call. And if I ever get back to the UK, I'll give you a call.
Absolutely. That sounds like a plan.
Now, Elky, what a hero Steven is.
Oh, he certainly is, yeah. And who wouldn't want to indulge their passion travelling the world and cooking over fire? Now, we've got another extra special guest for you lot. James Golding, the group chef director at the Pig Hotels, has cooked the dish over fire for us. We caught up with him at the Fleur de Lis in Cranbourne.
Hi everybody, I'm James Golding, and today I'm going to be cooking this partridge with a lime and chilli salsa and some charred sweet corn. A partridge is basically a wild game bird, and these guys have got the most incredible flavour. It tastes very similar to chicken, but with a sort of slightly gamey flavour. Now, a lot of people cook chicken on the barbecue, but I actually like cooking partridge because they cook a bit quicker, and also they take the flavour of the spicy dressing a lot better than I think chicken. So we're going to spatchcock this, and it's very easy. You need a really good pair of kitchen scissors, and all we're going to do is cut straight down the backbone. One side and the other side. Remove the backbone, and then what I like to do is just spin it round, and you can see there where the wishbone meets that cartilage. I just like to give that a little nick like that, and what that does is it makes it easier to push it down. So we'll break that, and basically it looks a bit like a flattened frog is the way that I always tell my chefs, but the idea is obviously you're getting that lovely heat from underneath and you're exposing the breast and the legs so that it cooks at an even pace. So that's going in the bowl. We'll do the second one now. So literally straight down, make sure your scissors are sharp. Backbone out, little one of them, and press down onto your board. So I brought with me some of my chili sauce. In this I've got some thyme, obviously chili sauce, a little bit of maple syrup flakes, and some black pepper. We're going to be quite liberal with this. You don't want to use it all now. I'm going to put some on the partridge, and then I'm also going to spoon some over the top when we're cooking the bird, just to keep the skin nice and moist as it's cooking, so it doesn't dry out. So I'm doing 2 partridge. You know, you could have 1 per person, but there's a few of us here today, so we'll do 2. So just a nice spread. That'll probably just about do it. So while those are marinating, we're going to make our corn salsa. Very simple. We're just ripping the husks off of the corn, and you can actually use these. Sometimes I put bits of chicken or some sweet corn salsa back in. You can roll these up, and these are quite good on the barbecue as well, but for this salsa we don't need them. These are actually from Sotbury Farm, it's just up the road, and they're incredibly sweet. And that's why it works really well. Game tends to go with sweeter things. You know, if you think about venison and say, you know, damsons, that's a classic combination. So the corn and the partridge will be a great accompaniment. So for this, I've got some veg oil, and I'm just going to brush the corn with a little bit of the oil, just so that when it goes onto the fire, it actually starts to colour quicker than if it didn't. And season with some blackthorn salt. We're going to re-season the salsa afterwards, so this is just to get a bit of basic flavour. Okay, now we're going over to the barbecue. These are going straight onto the grill, and we want to try and basically colour these up as quickly as possible, because we don't want the whole thing to cook and we don't want it to burn, but we want to get that lovely smoky caramelised flavour into it. So we start on the top, and the idea is just to really get a nice even colour on this corn. So I quite like to start them bone side down, and I do that because it's quite good to set the meat up first. So if you cook it from, you know, the bottom up, what happens is it firms up, and then when you flip it over and you get that lovely char, it tends to hold its shape a little bit better. So they're going to go on like so. Try and sort of make sure the shape is held as you get them on there, and then any sauce that's left in the bottom of the bowl, just spoon that over the top. We're going to season with a pinch of salt, and quickly turn these guys as well, and let them continue to do their thing. Okay, so we're going to start prepping for the salsa. So to begin with, I'm going to take half a red onion, which we're going to dice, or brunoise as our chefs like to say, but dice to everybody else. Fine dice, actually, I suppose is the correct amount. We just peel off the outer skins. Ooh, trying to cut itself, which I didn't, which is good. And then straight in and fine, about that much. So keep your onion trimmings, they're great in the stock. So that's going into your bowl. These are actually spaghetti chilies, and I like to pick them where they're green because they're not too fiery, but you do get a nice heat to them. Now the luxury of these guys is that they haven't got too many seeds, and you can just cut them on the angle hole, and the seeds will kind of just fall out. So we're going to do a nice fine chiffonade on the chili. As they turn around there, you can do both sides with both ends of the chili with one knife, which is great. So straight into your bowl. And then we have our limes. Now you can use lemon in this if you want, but I think the lime works a lot better. I'm just going to zest the outside of this lime. Very important you buy limes that haven't been waxed, or if they have been waxed, give them a good old wash under hot water. So the zest will add the fragrance to this. Look at that, looks really good. These are starting to colour up now underneath. We're just going to give them a little flip over so you can see how the meats have started to firm up. So if I was to pick those up without having it firmed up, what would have happened is they'd all collapse in on each other and we wouldn't be able to get that lovely spatchcock shape. As you can see, the corn's got a lovely colour. I think that's perfect now. So I'm going to take these off and we're going to go and make the salsa. Corn is obviously lovely and charred. For this, I quite like to cut it in half because it gives you a good base to then start to shave this. And the idea is that we're just taking off those outer kernels. You don't want any of the hard husk of the corn. So as you can see, it's nice and hot, and it's important that it's warm when it goes into this, because what will happen is the heat from the corn will obviously slightly soften and give that onion and chili a bit of a chance to release some flavour. So that's going straight into the bowl, easy as that. And we're going to add in the juice of one lime. I always put it through my hands just to catch any seeds, but limes don't tend to have too many. So that's two halves going in there. Good old squeeze. and then good pinch of salt, some cracked black pepper, and good glug of olive oil. I like to use peculiar oil. It's Spanish, which has a nice sort of peppery finish to it, so it works really well with this dish. So I want to give a good old glug of this. Now this is extra virgin oil. Use extra virgin oil in your salads. Try not to actually use it for cooking because it burns. Just to finish it off, I've got some lovely coriander. So chop the coriander down. You can put the stalks in it as well. And that's going to go in. So, sounds like our partridge is almost ready. Let's head over to the grill and see how they're getting on. Look at that. That's exactly what you want. We want a nice bit of caramelisation on the outside, but not too much carbonisation. So you can see already now that the colour of that meat has changed from that sort of dark pink to a lighter sort of cooked chicken colour, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm just going to move these to the outer part of the grill, and we're going to leave them there to cook gently. I'm actually going to bring the chili sauce over and give them a little bit of a nappe, as we say. Now you can use a brush. I'm going to try and do it with a spoon, and obviously this extra liquid will keep the top of the breast nice and moist. So we'll probably leave them to cook now for another 5 minutes, and then we'll bring them off and we'll start plating up the food. Now they look perfectly cooked to me. You can see that the skin's lovely and crispy. It's cooked perfectly. Okay, so it's time to plate up the partridge. So we've got these funky plates, which are lovely little antique plates, which work really well for this dish. I love to use these plates when I'm cooking game. It reminds me of like an old country house. We've got the corn salsa that we've made. I'm going to add in a bit of this chili sauce, just to give it a bit of an extra kick. So give it a good old stir. And this is very, very simple. We're just placing the relish down the centre of the plate. You know, you could serve this as a sort of family sharing style dish, right in the middle of the table. Let everybody roll their sleeves up and get involved. And then our lovely partridge that have been resting, just on top of the corn like so. And then I brought with me these lovely marigold flowers. These have got a really good kind of bitter flavour, which works really well with the sweetness of the corn. Plus it just adds a lovely bit of colour to the dish. So there we go, that's my spatchcock partridge with corn salsa and chilli.
Big thanks to James, and that partridge was absolutely delicious. And thank you to Matt at the Fleur de Lis for hosting.
Now, throughout the summer, Elky and I produced the Lockdown Barbecue Show on a weekly basis. And one of your favourite features was What's Cooking. Well, we took a look at what you've been barbecuing.
As a way of saying thank you, we set up a competition over on Barbecue Shack TV. Let's take a look. Oh yes, it's competition time here at Barbecue Shack TV, and we have teamed up with Thermapen to offer not one but two fantastic prizes. Now, over the course of the Lockdown Barbecue Show, many of you sent in a dish for our What's Cooking feature, and I selected my favourite one from each show. Now all of these have gone into a pool, or best of the best if you will, where there can only be one overall winner, and that winner will take home one of these Thermapen Pros. Now in order to enter, it's this simple. Subscribe to our new channel, Barbecue Shack TV. Leave a comment in the comment section below this video with the number of the cook that you think most deserves to win. The cook with the most number of votes will take home one of the Thermapen Pros. Now the other Thermapen Pro, the winner will be selected at random from the comment section below. So it really is that simple. The competition runs until the 5th of November. Tell your friends, give it a share. There's some great cooks coming up, so choose wisely, and good luck. told you there were some fantastic cooks, so leave the number of the cook that you think deserves to be the overall winner in the comment section below for your chance to win, and of course their chance to win. Now this is the first of many competitions we hope to run on Barbecue Shack TV, so please spread the word, tell your mates all about Barbecue Shack TV, and keep your eyes peeled over the winter for lots of fantastic content coming up.
Some great cooks there, Elky, and brilliant prizes from Thermapen.
They really are, yeah, so thank you to Thermapen for the prizes. There's only a few days left of the competition, so head over and enter now.
And now it's time for Elky to recreate one of Steven Raichlens' favourite dishes. Now, Elky, that steak looked delicious.
Oh, it was so good, and I can definitely see why it's one of his favourite dishes.
Now, that's it for this programme. We'll see you again in November, and a big thank you to our programme sponsor, Kamado Joe.
As always, a huge thanks from me, guys. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you in November.